which is a little bit of a slowdown in the marketplace, which we're going to address in a minute. And we've been talking about this last 3 to 4 weeks, where the inventory here in the villages has grown. Like we've gone from upper 40s as far as what's available on MLS to now we're in the kind of mid to upper 70s. And what we're seeing is a lot of the property. So I was actually looking at this. This is a year ago. This is back in the summer of 2022. And I still find this unbelievable. I think that, putting a little bit of perspective around the marketplace, I think is super interesting. I'm Glenn Stein, Realty Executives in the Villages. We're looking at a video I did a year ago where we're talking about the inventory being in the 40s earlier on last year, going to the 70s. And of course, now, we've been bumping up on almost 400 homes. The inventory rise, I feel pretty good about this. We saw obviously a record interest rate rise in 1 year last year. We saw a record rise in inventory. So interest rates going up, inventory going up. And what we're going to look at today is, okay, what's the impact on pricing? So let's continue to watch this. Properties that are also with Property of the Villages, similar type inventory, by the way, similar inventory. In fact, we've got a little bit more inventory than them on that side, but we certainly have grown, if you do the math, right, almost a 100% increase in
100% increase.
We're going to go through this here.
Check this out.
And right now, 73 properties on the market, right? This is what we're seeing. I'm going to blow this up a little bit more so you can see it. Hopefully a little bit better. Yep, 73. You can see that on the bottom. Okay. So 73 listings on the market right now. And as you know, we've done this before. There was like, when I first did this about 4 or 5 weeks ago, I can tell that a lot of people are like, what? That's crazy. You're kidding me. That's all we're seeing as far as inventory. And that's when we were in the 40s. So let's take a look at, these are the properties. You're going to organize it by price.
25
some properties, there's, 12 or 13 properties that you can actually buy in the villages. Most of them are, and I'm going to do a map in a section. So
so that tells you exactly what transpired last year. I think that's super interesting. Like, wow, what a difference a year makes, right? Like we went from being super white hot in the real estate market to kind of a normal marketplace where very balanced amount every week that we look at it, either we're slightly ahead as far as number of properties going under contract versus what's coming on the market. Last couple of weeks, last 2 to 3 weeks, it's actually been more listings coming on the market than properties going under contract, that type of thing. I think that's a real thing that's going on right now. But, big changes in the real estate market. And it seems like when you go through that big drastic change, it looks like, oh my gosh, market's crashing. And really, we haven't seen this. Like we predicted last year and, last year and a half, that the market's not going to crash, right? But there's more to choose from. 375 properties to choose from. And remember what we just saw, 25 properties under 300. And now we're looking at 25 properties that are under 250, right? So now what we're seeing is, let's go to 300,000. We've got more to choose from under 300,000. That's 50 properties. Now we're looking at, looks like right at, 66 properties that are under 300,000. More to choose from. So what we've seen is the floor of the villages, like the number of properties, lots of patio homes, patio villas that you're able to find under the 300,000 mark. And I think that's probably one of the biggest differences that we've seen so far, this year. What's the big adjustment? Okay, interest rates gone up, slowdown in demand for sure. Much more inventory, like we just saw it, right? Like that video I did is just a rehash of going from 44 to 77, now 375. Much more inventory, but what we've seen, and the reminder is, in the last six months or so, it's leveled off. It looked like absolutely we're going to cross over 400 and just keep going, and now it's plateaued, right? The inventory is plateaued. Basically, you can probably say the last 2 to 3 months, it's actually flattened out, which I think is a healthy thing. Like it just completely did this, but it's not like it's flipping over and crashing. So I think that's a big takeaway for people that are thinking about buying. It's a normal marketplace. Thinking about selling, I think it's a very normal marketplace, right? Good both ways. Not as good as what it could have been 2 years ago as a seller, and maybe not as good as a buyer from a buyer's perspective 3-4 years ago, right? But the values are there. You've seen some price adjustments on the very bottom, especially when you're looking at patio villas and even courtyard villas, and maybe, you know, some of the smaller models, Amarillo, Bougainvilleas, that type of thing. You know, that category doesn't matter where you are, new construction, south of 44, north of 466, anything in between. And then properties that are in the upper end, because there's not as many properties that are over that $1 million mark, we are seeing more properties sell for more than $1 million. And we're seeing some properties, even I know of one property that may be coming on the market, you know, pushing 2 million plus. So I think a real healthy movement. If you have questions, by the way, Glenn Stein here, 352-572-3796. Please like, subscribe, and let me know if you have questions.